Imagine you're Eleni, a young teacher in Athens. You grew up in Koukaki, a neighborhood where the Acropolis is right next door. You work really hard, but the money you earn now barely covers the rent for a small apartment. The Parthenon is so close you can see it, but living near it is just too expensive. Eleni's problem is something many people in Greece are going through. Having a stable home has become a luxury. The dream of raising your family where you grew up is now replaced by worry and impossible choices. Every new fancy hotel takes the place of a family bakery, hurting the heart of the community. Young people are putting off big life steps like getting married or having kids. They're either living with their parents or leaving the country. The city is turning into a playground for tourists, while the people who live there are pushed to the side. For many, the only choice left is to leave Greece and find their dreams somewhere else. Let's look at the numbers. In 2017, an apartment in Athens, a city steeped in history and culture, cost about €1,300 for each square meter. This figure represented a certain level of affordability, a benchmark for the housing market at the time. Now fast forward to today, and that same square meter is almost €2,500. The skyline of Athens may look similar, but the price tags attached to its properties tell a very different story. That's an 88% jump in less than 10 years, a staggering increase that paints a clear picture of a rapidly escalating housing market. The numbers don't lie. The cost of living is rising dramatically. But here's the harsh reality. While housing prices have skyrocketed, people's pay has hardly gone up, or even gone down in some sectors. This creates a widening gap, a chasm between income and expenses. The lowest wage you can earn is only €830 a month, a figure that barely covers basic necessities in today's economy. It's a constant struggle to make ends meet. And when rent for a one-bedroom apartment can easily be €600, the situation becomes even more dire. After paying rent, what's left for everything else? People are spending more than half of their money just to have a place to live, leaving very little for food, transportation, and other essential needs. It's a precarious balancing act. Saving for the future? No way. With such a large portion of income going towards rent, the idea of building a financial safety net becomes an impossible dream. There's no extra money for emergencies. Every day is a struggle to get by, a constant juggling act to keep afloat. An unexpected medical bill or car repair can throw an entire budget into chaos. Teachers, the very people shaping the minds of the future, are working 2 jobs just to make ends meet, sacrificing their time and energy to provide for their families. Young couples are giving up on having children, forced to postpone or abandon their dreams of starting a family due to financial constraints. And older people who have spent their lives contributing to society have to make the heartbreaking choice between buying essential medicine and heating their homes during the cold winter months. This isn't just about being able to afford things, it's about people's worth, their dignity, and their ability to live a life with basic security and comfort. Working hard doesn't lead to a stable life or hope anymore. The promise of upward mobility, the idea that hard work pays off, feels increasingly hollow. These numbers aren't just abstract facts, they're the daily life of millions of people across Greece, real people with hopes, dreams, and families to support. They're stuck in a system that feels unfair, a system where the odds are stacked against them, and the path to a better life seems increasingly blocked. The result? A society that's always stressed, burdened by financial anxieties and the constant pressure to survive. They're watching their country become out of reach, as the cost of living soars and the dream of a comfortable life fades further into the distance. Owning a home, a fundamental part of the Greek dream, is now just a distant dream for most Greeks, a symbol of a life that feels increasingly unattainable. Greece is beautiful, a land of ancient history, stunning landscapes, and vibrant culture. Its allure draws people from every corner of the globe, all eager to experience its magic. And indeed, millions of people come to visit each year, seeking sun-drenched beaches, historical wonders, and the warmth of Greek hospitality. The influx of tourism has undeniably boosted the Greek economy, creating jobs and opportunities. But beneath the surface of this thriving industry, a concerning trend is emerging. Tourism is now, in many ways, forcing local people out of their homes and communities. The very essence of Greek life is being threatened. Short-term rentals like those on Airbnb and other similar platforms have exploded in popularity, offering travelers convenient and often affordable alternatives to traditional hotels. But this surge in short-term rentals has inadvertently taken away homes that used to be available for long-term living, shrinking the housing pool for local residents. The consequences are far-reaching. Landlords are faced with a tempting proposition: why rent to a family for €500 a month, providing stable year-round income, when a tourist will happily pay that much in just 1 week, offering a significantly higher return on investment? The economic incentive is undeniable. As a result, whole neighborhoods are now transforming into transient zones, just places where people stay for a short time, lacking the sense of community and belonging that defines a true neighborhood. They're eerily empty in winter, devoid of life and activity, as the tourist season wanes, and then they're overwhelmingly packed in summer, bursting at the seams with visitors, often overwhelming local infrastructure and resources. The scale of this shift is staggering. More than 1 million properties across the country are currently listed as short-term rentals, contributing to the housing shortage and driving up prices. The situation is particularly acute on the islands. On the islands, 1 out of every 5 homes is empty, either owned by foreigners as vacation homes or simply saved exclusively for tourists, remaining vacant for much of the year. As a direct consequence, important workers, the backbone of the local economy, such as teachers, nurses, and service staff, simply can't find affordable housing near their workplaces. They are forced to endure long and often arduous commutes, traveling long distances to get to work, adding stress and impacting their quality of life. Furthermore, rich buyers, often from overseas, and people who work online from anywhere, are entering the market, offering significantly more money than local people can afford, accelerating gentrification and fundamentally changing the character of communities. As a result, local shops and restaurants, the heart and soul of Greek neighborhoods, are sadly disappearing, replaced by businesses that cater almost exclusively to tourists, selling souvenirs and offering generic tourist-friendly fare. The very heart of Greek cities is slowly fading, losing its authenticity and unique charm, as citizens gradually become just small parts of their own story, marginalized in their own communities, feeling like outsiders in their homeland. Tourism's undeniable success has therefore come at a significant cost: the erosion of community, the loss of cultural identity, and the diminishing feeling of belonging for the very people who call Greece home. To truly understand the depth and complexity of the problems Greece faces today, we need to delve into the past. Let's journey back to the 1970s, a pivotal decade that laid the foundation for many of the challenges that would later emerge. This era holds crucial clues to understanding the present situation. After a time of strict rule under a military junta, a period marked by authoritarianism and limited freedoms, Greece's new democracy emerged, promising its citizens a good life filled with prosperity and opportunity. This promise, however, came at a cost. This newfound prosperity was largely paid for by borrowing lots of money from international lenders, rather than through the more sustainable method of collecting taxes from its citizens. As a result, the country's debt grew at an alarming rate, accumulating year after year and creating a growing burden on the nation's finances. In fact, the national debt tripled in the 1980s alone, a staggering increase that signaled a looming crisis. Compounding the problem, widespread tax evasion meant that many individuals and businesses were not paying their fair share, effectively emptying the government's money reserves. By the late 1990s, the national debt had ballooned to almost as much as the country's total annual income, a precarious situation that threatened economic stability. Despite this precarious financial situation, Greece made the decision to join the Eurozone, a move that would have significant long-term consequences. The introduction of the euro brought with it easy access to credit and a facade of financial prosperity, masking the underlying economic vulnerabilities. This easy money fueled even more government spending on ambitious projects and further borrowing from international banks, exacerbating the debt problem. Then, the global financial crisis of 2008 struck, sending shockwaves through the world economy and exposing the weaknesses in Greece's financial system. Suddenly, international lenders became wary of Greece's mounting debt and refused to lend the country any more money. With no access to new loans and a treasury depleted by years of overspending and tax evasion, the country was effectively broke. Greece was now trapped within the Eurozone, bound by its rules and regulations. This meant that the country couldn't devalue its currency to make its exports more competitive, nor could it simply print more money to pay off its debts. The already significant debt problem reached a critical point and exploded into a full-blown crisis, threatening the stability of the entire Eurozone. As a result of the crisis, Greece effectively lost control of its own economic future, becoming subject to the dictates of international lenders and institutions. Years of excessive government spending on often wasteful public projects, coupled with a chronic failure to collect adequate tax revenues, had left the country in an extremely vulnerable and precarious financial position. The euro, which was initially hailed as a symbol of European integration and progress, ultimately became like handcuffs, severely restricting the country's monetary policy options. Greece was then forced to confront the harsh reality and deal with the consequences of years of unsustainable economic policies and poor financial management. The crisis didn't simply materialize overnight. It was not a sudden, unexpected event. Instead, it was the culmination of years of ignored warning signs and overlooked economic indicators that pointed towards an impending disaster. And when the period of economic prosperity and easy credit finally came to an end, the country was faced with the daunting task of paying a massive bill for years of overspending and financial mismanagement. Ultimately, Greece was left with a mountain of debt that it simply could not repay, finding itself trapped in a seemingly inescapable situation with no clear path out of the crisis. The 2008 crash wasn't just a small downturn, it was a complete economic collapse. The economy shrank by 25%, many people lost their jobs, and families lost everything. Greece took huge rescue loans, but the price was very harsh money-saving rules. Government jobs disappeared, pay and retirement money were cut, and healthcare was badly hurt. Even these cuts weren't enough. The government sold off national properties to foreign buyers. Ports, airports, and the power grid changed owners, making people feel even more like they had lost something. For ordinary Greeks, it felt like their country no longer belonged to them. The emotional toll was huge. Pride turned into shame, hope into sadness. Protests and strikes became a daily thing as people were angry about decisions made far away. The agreement between the government and its people was broken. Working hard no longer promised a better future. This suffering created the deep hurts and unfairness that are causing today's problems. What happened afterward wasn't just about money, it was about losing control and dignity. The wounds from this time still shape what Greece is like today. To recover, Greece started the Golden Visa program. If you spend 250,000 euros on property, you get to live there for 5 years. Billions of euros came in, but most buyers weren't moving in, they were investing. 94% of properties bought with the Golden Visa became short-term rentals, not homes for local people. Thousands of homes disappeared from the long-term rental market, making rents go way up. Local people now have to compete with big global investors and money groups, not other families. Neighborhoods became like money accounts, not places where people live together. Rental money left Greece, making foreign investors rich instead of helping local life. The Golden Visa didn't just sell off houses, but also the hope of living in your own city. Since 2009, over 500,000 young, educated Greeks have left. Doctors, engineers, teachers, the people Greece invested in, became like exiles because of money problems. Low pay and no chances forced them to go abroad, leaving behind an older population. The number of babies being born has dropped a lot, and the number of workers shrinks as more people retire. This leaving of people hurts the economy and the country's spirit. There are many stories, couples moving abroad to start families, teachers sending money home. Every person who leaves is a loss for Greece, a sign that promises were broken. The question now is, will there be anyone left to build a future in Greece? While most Greeks suffered, a group of well-connected rich people saw a chance. They bought up government properties at very low prices, often working with foreign investors. The same families who avoided paying taxes and got special deals now bought ports, energy companies, and other important things. Corruption and favoritism didn't go away. They changed, making sure money kept going to the top. Ordinary people bore the worst of it: higher taxes, fewer services, and more unfairness. The crisis became a way for a few people to make money, making people more cynical and divided. For most, the system feels unfair, and belief in justice is gone. Greece is at a turning point, and its identity is in danger. Tourists now have a better life than many local people, as fancy rentals sit empty while families are forced out. This is more than just about money. It's a fight for the country's heart. Protests aren't just about rent. They're about protecting communities from becoming just playgrounds for the rich. Government solutions have been too little, too late. The crisis is a warning. Too much tourism and foreign investment can empty out a country. Big differences in wealth and a shrinking population threaten Greece's future. It's about the teacher with 3 jobs, the couple who can't afford children, the grandparents watching loved ones leave. The urgent question is, will Greece be a place its people can live in, or just a memory? The answer will decide what the country will be like for many years to come.